All right. Good morning. Good morning. You guys have been locked up with each other for a few days, haven't you? Yes. I remember speaking in Heber Springs, Arkansas, and it was back during the big storm. Many years ago, there was a big snowstorm. And I was scheduled to come in and speak in Heber Springs, Arkansas, and it took us 18 hours to get there. And I was the only speaker that showed up, and those people had been locked up at that conference place for 6 days. I thought they were going to kill each other and kill me, right? And but I'm glad to be here with you. And this morning I told my team, because we were driving over from Murfreesboro, I said, man, I feel like we're going to Heber Springs, Arkansas. It's a long way over here, right? My name's Coach Michael Burt. How many of you are small town people across Tennessee? Is everybody from Tennessee? Yes. Okay, and here's what's funny. On my way over here today, we drove through my small town of Woodbury, Tennessee, of where I grew up. You got the Woodbury folks in here? Good. You guys know where it is. It doesn't matter if I'm in New York City. Somebody says, I've been to Woodbury, right? And I drove through that small town, and I was reminded of all the things that were happening. So I was doing this video, and I was talking about the small town. You know, I was raised by a single mom. She had me when she was 16 years old. My dad was 18 years old. I still remember at 6 years old, it was a Little League baseball coach named Mickey Vinson that told me, son, one of these days you're going to be a great coach. If you were to backtrack in your life, how you got to where you are today, it's probably because somebody somewhere chose to see the good in you when it was easy to see the bad. They really kind of affirmed and validated you. At 6 years old, Mickey Vinson, this little baseball coach, this woman baseball coach was coaching me, and I answered all the questions, and I was the first one there, and I was always motivated, and she was like, son, one of these days, you're going to be a great coach. Well, at 15 years old, I was pumping gas in my small town of Woodbury, and I still remember the most exciting thing we had going on in Woodbury, if you live in a small town, was the whole town got together to watch them build a Hardee's. It was a real exciting time, you know, because we didn't have a McDonald's, we didn't have a Sonic, and literally I was pumping gas at this gas station, and people would drive their cars there, park their cars, and watch them construct that Hardee's. And I'm like, man, we need something to do in this town, right? And so 15 years old, but something happened, and I'm trying to get you to think about your own life. Like, how did you end up here? How did you end up doing what you do? How did you end up on this path in life? And when I'm looking at these little points of origin in my life, at 15 years old, I get a phone call from a Little League baseball coach, one of the same coaches that coached me down at that local park, okay? Because when my mom and dad divorced, and I figured out later in life that the ball field was really good babysitting. It was free babysitting. So while my mom was working 2 jobs, she'd work one at day and one at night, she'd take me down to the ball field. And I'd stay down at that ball field for hours and hours and hours, and those coaches kind of became like my parents. You understand what I'm saying? And I watched how they cared about other people, and they took care of other people's kids, and they sacrificed time away from their own families. And so at 15 years old, a Little League baseball coach who had coached me down at that ball field said, man, will you help me coach a junior pro basketball team? And I said, I would love to. I was playing basketball at the local high school, and so I go down there to coach junior pro basketball. Now, I'm 15 years old, and I'm coaching 9 to 12-year-old kids. Because some of the things I'm going to teach you today is not just for you, it's for your kids. Because I have a 5-year-old daughter now, and I understand the power and impact and influence that we can have over kids and what they can become in the world. And so I go down there to coach those junior pro kids. Man, I'm 15 years old. I'm coaching 9 to 12-year-olds. I wear a little suit. I look like a little Pat Riley coaching junior pro basketball, okay? But I'm so passionate. I'm so passionate, and people are, you know, I'm so passionate, and people are just, you know, so passionate I get ejected from a junior pro basketball game. That means they threw me out of the game, okay? I had 2 technical fouls, and I got a standing ovation on the way out, not because people liked me, but because they didn't like me. And they're like, who is this kid that's just so passionate? But that's when I decided that I was going to be a coach and spend the rest of my life coaching people. And so I went back to my local elementary school. How many of y'all went to a little small elementary school somewhere, right? Okay, let's look at all the small town people here. And so I went back to a small elementary school at 18 years old, and I said, I would like to be the head boys basketball coach at this school. And he said, you're just a kid. There's no way we can make you the coach of the team. And I said, I've got the power of my conviction. Anytime you take movement in your life on something, here's what happens. You've had some type of revelation. Revelation is some type of big aha moment. Every person in this room has had one. It's something you know. Because of that revelation, you have conviction. It's like, man, I believe this at my core. I know I can do this at my core. I believe this. And then because of that conviction, you take action. You had a big thought. You got a conviction. You go take action. Okay? So I had that conviction. Then I'm like, I can handle this. I can coach this team. I can do this. So I went back 14 straight days. Every day I showed up again. Can I coach the team? Can I coach the team? Can I coach the team? He kept saying, no, you can't coach the team. No, you can't. You're just a kid. You're just a kid. You're just a kid. And finally, after 14 days, he said, look, kid, you got the job, man. Nobody else wants this job anyway. And you got it. I didn't even ask how much money I was going to make. I didn't ask what the job was going to be. And I coached that little team. I built my own office. I got those kids from point A to point B. And in the very first year, we won a championship. And so I still remember it like it was yesterday because the principal came to me and he said, man, you did such a great job coaching this year. We think we would like to pay you. Now, any day, I want y'all to remember this, because any day you feel like you are not making enough money and you are underpaid, I want you to remember this story. So I, being naive, said, great. Now, I've already worked for a year for nothing. But I loved it. So I said, how much are you going to pay me? And he looked at me and he said, $199.50 for the year. Right? I coached that whole year for $199.50. I came back the second year because I began to believe that every day at my current role was an interview for my next role. I began to believe every day at my current job was an interview for my next job. And I began to work that job like I was in the NBA. And he came back to me the second year and he said, we'd love to pay you that $199.50, but we had to put a new commode in the gymnasium. And they used my second year's salary to put a commode in the gym. That's a true story. But something happened at 19 years old. I got a phone call from the second largest high school in Tennessee, in Riverdale High School. Any of y'all know where Riverdale High School is? Riverdale's a big high school in Murfreesboro. And I get a phone call one night. It's from the coach at Riverdale. And here's what he said. He said, man, I have heard about you. I have heard you're this young little whippersnapper that can flat out coach. Will you come down to Riverdale and be one of my assistant coaches? And I'm like, and I asked what any good 19-year-old would ask, which is what? I'm like, how much are you going to pay me to come to Riverdale? And these words actually came out of my mouth. I'm already making $199.50. I'm like, I don't even know if you can afford me. And that's what he did. He laughed. He's like, that's good, kid, that's good. And he said, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to pay you $2,000. And I said, $2,000? Man, I will be there tonight, right? I mean, I just 10 times my salary. And here's what's funny, though. When I began to leave that small town, my whole life had been there. I'm making a decision to leave. You would be shocked how many people tried to get me not to leave. Some of the people closest to me, you can't go, you can't leave us, you can't do it. I had one person even say, you're not going down there, are you? You're liable to get shot down there. I'm like, I'm just going down to Murfreesboro. It's just 30 minutes down the road. You understand what I'm saying? So I had heard this my whole life. You'll never be anything because you're from a small town. You'll never turn out to be anything because nobody good comes out of this small town. I heard this over and over and over. And it actually reminded me of a story in the Bible where Jesus is kind of picking up these disciples and they go to Nathanael and the very first words out of Nathanael's mouth is, can anything good come out of Nazareth? Can anything good come out of that little town? Right? And I heard that my whole life. Nothing good comes out of this small town. And I heard it so much that I got sick of it that I wrote a book called Small Towns and Big Dreams. Because a lot of good things come out of small towns. Right? And I went back and looked at all the people who went on to do something big in the world, and I said, look at this little small town they come from. 792 people lived in that town. And so I heard this, and so when I went down to Riverdale, I began to coach and I began to understand something. Now, how many of you are in a support role to another person? And that's part of your job. Okay? Now, I want to tell you my philosophy on this, because this is very critical. I believe behind every great number one is a great number two. Do you believe that? Behind every great number one, every great person that's out front, there's a great number two that's behind the curtain. We don't get to see them a lot. They don't get a lot of the credit. But they're kind of in the background, and they're making a lot of things happen for that number one. Right? It's not a diminished role. It's not a role that's less than. It's not a role that is not any more, that is less valuable. It's an important function to make the whole thing go. And if you're ever in a support role, we've lost this in our society because we all want to be in the number one role all the time. But sometimes to be a great number one, you first have to be a great number. And that's what I became at Riverdale. I said I will become his number two. And I was there to serve his mission. And I was there to serve him and where he was going with his program. He brought me into his program. And so whatever he needed, I got it. I mean, I got him water. I carried his bags. I drove the bus. I coached the team. I babysat his kids. It didn't matter. I let his dogs out. He needed something from me? Yes, sir. And I made a rule. I will never leave until he leaves. He stayed at 8 o'clock. I stayed at 8:15. He stayed at 9 o'clock. I stayed at 9:15. I would go down and ask permission to leave. I have to remind my team of this sometimes. I used to ask permission to leave at the end of the day. I'd go down and I'd say, do you have anything else you need me to do today? And if it's okay with your permission, is it okay for me to go ahead and go home? Because I don't think it's really right for me to go home and you still stay here working. You see what I'm saying? And sometimes he'd say, no, there's a few more things I need you to do. Sometimes he'd say, no, you got it, going home, coach. But I always ask out of respect for him. I always said, hey, what do you think? Okay, I noticed one day my whole team was leaving and I was still working. I said, hold on there. Okay? You could at least out of respect just come down and ask me. Is it okay to go ahead and get out of here? Are we done for the day? Do you have anything else for me to do? Many times I'm going to say, go on and get out of here, man. It's been a good day, right? But I always did that for him. And let me tell you why I did that for him. I was there to serve him in that role. I wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for that man. Everybody with me? I wouldn't have had that job if it wasn't for that man. I wouldn't have been where I am today if it wasn't for that man believing in me when other people didn't believe in me. You understand what I'm saying? So out of respect for him, I was there to serve him in his vision. We've lost that in our society, guys. We've lost it. We don't want to serve anybody else. We want to serve ourselves. What's in it for me? People interview for jobs with me today, the very first thing they want to know is, hey, how much am I going to make? How many days do I get off? And what are the benefits? And I'm like, what's the benefit of hiring you? I ain't figured out yet what the benefit of hiring you is, right? Because I ain't figured out if you can actually do anything yet. You're already coming in the very first day asking me what I can do for you. You come in and show me what you can do for us, and I'll tell you what all the benefits are. Everybody follow me here? So when you're thinking about this, I was there because I wanted to grow. And we're going to talk a lot about today about some states. And I think every person in this room is in one of three states today. You are either in a dynamic state, which means you are growing, you are learning, you are improving, you are on fire, you are interested in your own potential, and you're dynamic. Okay? But unfortunately, a lot of people get out of a dynamic state and they get into what's called a static state. Now, give me some words for static. Coasting. Okay? That's a good one. What else? Stagnant. Doing the bare minimum. Do you know there was a poll in the United States not long ago that 67% of people said they were doing just enough to not get fired? That they were totally disengaged with their work. What does that say about our society? Now, I want to tell you something. Now, we got to remember, I was raised by a single mom, had me when she was 16 years old, worked 2 jobs. I watched that woman scratch and hustle for everything we ever had. So my work ethic comes from her. I don't believe in coming in late and leaving early. I believe in coming in early and staying. You understand what I'm saying? I believe if there's anything you want in the world, it's out there. All you got to do is go get it. Is that not what you're teaching your kids? I want you to think about this. You're teaching your kids if you want it, you got to go get it. It ain't going to come to you, right? So what I see a lot of people, because I coach a lot of people in a week, sometimes hundreds, sometimes 1,000, sometimes more, multiple thousands. And here's what I see a lot of people have done. At one point in their life, they were dynamic. They were growing. They were on fire. They were interested. Then they reach a static state. Let me give you another word for static: complacent. The definition for complacent is a gradual settling to a place of mediocrity. Sounds sexy, don't it? When I send my 5-year-old daughter off to school in the morning, I don't say, hey, sweetheart, I tell you what I want you to do. I only got one goal for you today. I want you to gradually settle to a place of mediocrity, okay? Anybody tell their kids that when they send them off to school in the morning? But that's where a lot of people are. So the question becomes, how do we end up in a static state? How do we end up in a complacent state where we're not growing, we're not improving, we're not getting better? Could it have to do with the environment we're in? Yes or no? Yes. Could it have to do with the people we associate with? Yes or no? Yes. Could it have to be with us being interested? Absolutely. All these things factor in. If you've let yourself get static, let me tell you what static is. It ain't attractive. It ain't attractive to the market. It ain't attractive to other people. People are attracted to dynamic people. Dynamic means you're growing, you're learning, you're getting better. And so the third state that people end up in is called entropic. Now, what does entropic mean? Disintegration. Dying. All three are attached to energy. I'm alive and vibrant. I'm growing. I'm dynamic. I'm static and stuck. Let me give you another word. In a rut. Bored. Stuck. Complacent. Not reaching my potential. Not fulfilling my potential. Or I'm dying. I'm growing, I'm stuck, or I'm dying. Now, my grandfather worked his whole life, same small town, worked with his hands, built houses, was very vibrant. I still remember going over his houses, and he would always give me counsel and coaching about what to do, and he was always alive and vibrant. He was dynamic. And then he retired. Now, I want you to think about this, because this is how kind of America has sold us. We work our whole lives so we can then do what? Retire. And that's the big payday. Work, don't like our work, work for 30 years, retire. But here's what happens. When you no longer have something to look forward to, when you no longer have purpose, when you no longer have dreams, when you no longer are striving, when you no longer are pushing, you quickly move from dynamic to static to entropic. And my mother told me one day, she said, it's almost as if the day after your grandfather retired, his whole life went downhill. His body went downhill. His mind went downhill. Everything. He jumped from being a dynamic man to almost completely entropic. And you know why? He ran out of purpose. He ran out of a reason to get up every morning and go do something. He ran out of a reason to get up and be involved in something. And so what I want to show you today is work that you're working at is not something that you should have an adversarial relationship with, because of the amount of time we spend in our work. A lot of people have an adversarial relationship with their work. So they got the Sunday night dreads. They don't want to go. That on Wednesday, today's Wednesday, right? What do we call Wednesday? Hump Day. Hump Day, baby. What do we say on Friday? Thank God it's Friday. I get a little bit of freedom on the weekends, and then I go back to the misery on Monday. Now, what's the problem with looking at work like that? I want you to think about this. What's the problem with thinking about your work that way? Very self-defeating. You get very stagnant. Let me give you some stats. And I want you to see if you can figure these stats out. The average person is going to spend 23 years of their life doing this. What do you think it is? 23 years of their life doing this. Sleeping. The average person spends 23 years of their life sleeping. They spend 9.5 years doing this. Not yet. We're going to get to eating. They spend 9.5 years in their cars. Took me 9.5 years to get to Fall Creek Falls this morning. I'm like, where are we at? No phone service. Banjos are playing on the way up here. I'm like, man, this is freaky. I asked my bus driver, I'm like, man, where are we going, man? We ever going to get there? So here's the deal, 9.5 years in a car. So look at our life. If I live to be 82 years old, that's the average life expectancy today, by the way. If I live to be 82 years old, I'm going to spend 23 years of my life sleeping. I'm going to spend 9.5 years in my car. Somebody said eating. I'm going to spend 6 years of my life eating. And I think that's actually low, don't you? Yeah. I'm going to spend 15 to 25 years doing this one thing. What do you think that is? Not yet. In school. Learning. 15 to 25 years of my life are going to be in some type of school, training, some type of training. I'm going to spend 5 to 15 years of my life in some form of spiritual or religious activity. And here's the kicker that I do not want you to forget. I'm going to spend 35 to 50 years of my life doing this one thing. What's that one thing? Working. So now let me ask you a question. Does it make good sense to spend 35 to 50 years of your life doing something that you don't enjoy? Does it make good sense to get up and spend 35 to 50 years of your life doing something you're not engaged with? Does it make good sense to get up and do something that you're stagnant at every day? Now, I don't want everybody to go back and quit tomorrow. Everybody understand? Because don't think it don't happen when I give this talk. Okay? Because sometimes I talk about being dynamic and they're like, I'm out of here, baby. I'm out. But my point is simple. If I can, and I tell people this all over the country, and I wrote a book on this called This Ain't No Practice Life. It's my first big book that sold a lot of copies. Okay? You like that language? Can you tell I'm from Tennessee in the South? This ain't no practice life. Here's what I'm saying. We don't get a second shot at this. I don't get to go around and do this again. I don't get to go back and relive my 20s or my 30s or my 40s. That's it. So when I choose my work, it's very critical. Okay? So if I tell people, if I can convince you to quit your job in 45 minutes, you quit a long time ago. Yeah, right or wrong? Is it possible for me to get dressed up, paint up, spray up, pretty up, dress up, show up to work, be at work, but not be there? Yes or no? Yes. There's a book that somebody wrote. I wish I'd have wrote this book. It's called I Quit, but I forgot to tell anybody. These are people that show up every day at work. They pretend to be at work. They're there physically, but guess what? They ain't there with their most important parts, which is their mind and their heart and their spirit. So when I started teaching, I was a high school teacher. I went to school to be a teacher, and I'm teaching these kids, and man, I was so excited about coaching and working with kids. And the very first day, they stuck me beside one person that had been teaching for 37 years on this side and hated kids. Right? And one person on this side that if they had to be there at 7:30 in the morning, they'd roll in on two wheels at 7:29. The students would be in the classroom waiting on them to get there. If they could leave at 2:41 in the afternoon, they'd knock the students down in the afternoon. I'm surprised they didn't leave their car running all day long. And I would be like, so one day I finally asked, I'm like, why did you go into teaching? Right? It appears that you don't like kids. That's what we do, is we work with kids, right? And here's what they would tell me. Oh, that's simple. Nights off, weekends off, holidays off. Summer vacations off. I'm like, that's why you chose to work with kids? I'm like, how long are you going to stick this out? They're like, 30, 40 years. Then I'm going to retire. I'm like, how good a teacher do you think that person can be if that's their mindset? I do this for one reason. I do this for one reason. The one reason is for those reasons. It ain't the primary reason you do this. So if you work with the public but you don't like people, that's a problem, isn't it? And you do realize when you work with the public, there's some crazy people out there, don't you? There's some low maintenance, high maintenance, crazy, right? Don't got all their marbles. I get it. Okay? Here's what, and the more people you work with, the more you're going to figure this out. That's just the cost of doing business when you work with people. So here's how I want you to position your work. I want you to start thinking about your work as a distribution channel for your talents. Work distributes your talents. You have certain talents that we're going to talk about today, and you take those talents and you share those talents with the world through your work. And when you are really good at distributing your talents to the world through your work, the world rewards you. And you think, well, how does the world reward me? When I say this, when I say, how do you get paid, what's the first thing people say to me? Oh, that's simple. We get paid in money. We get paid in money. But I say, is there not other ways we get paid? We get paid in satisfaction. We get paid in thank yous. We get paid in appreciation. We get paid in love. We get paid in affirmation. We get paid in a whole lot of ways outside of money. Money is just one of the ways we get paid. So let me ask you this question. When I was coaching for $199.50 and working 10 or 12 hours a day, was I underpaid?
Some ways yes, some ways.
In some ways, yes, but in some ways I was getting to do exactly what I love doing, coaching those kids. I was building my future. I was working on my skill set. I was getting the satisfaction back from those kids. So you got to understand The way I go out into the world and get paid is I go out and exchange value with the world. We had a guy the other day drive 6.5 hours both ways. 13 total hours to meet with me for 10 minutes. And I said, man, first thing I just want to tell you is thank you for coming 6.5 hours just to meet with me for 10 minutes. That takes a lot of guts to do that, man. I got paid that day just in appreciation. I said, I don't know if we're going to be able to exchange value through business or not, but you at least got in the car, you got dressed up, you drove 6.5 hours, and that means something to me. I noticed that, right? When I get cards and letters from people or Facebook messages or my former players say you changed my life or people buy my books, I get paid. And you know what's funny is I go home and tell my wife more about those things than I do about the money that I make. You follow me here? But here's the problem. I see my work as the distribution channel for my talent. So I go to Riverdale at 25 years old. So I become the head coach at Riverdale at 22 years old. At that time, I was the youngest head coach in the state of Tennessee at the second largest high school in Tennessee. And for those years, I'm just learning. And I'm learning, and I'm getting better, and I'm getting better. And at 25, I write a book called Changing Lives Through Coaching because I believe a good coach can change your life. The reason you reach a static state in your life is because you don't have a good coach. A good coach will not let you become static. A good coach will challenge you. A good coach will push you. A good coach will keep you in a dynamic state. And that's really what we all want. We want to live in a dynamic state, not static. We don't want to live in a bored or complacent state. We don't want to gradually settle to a place of mediocrity. Okay? Nobody does. No person in this room said, man, I'll take static and complacent. That's what I want my life to be about. I want to live in a dynamic state. You just don't have somebody in your life challenging you a little bit more. So at 25 years old, I write this book. And here's what's funny. Now, don't miss this. Because if you have kids, this is a very big point. Mamas and daddies would drop their daughters off to me at 14 years old, and they all said the same thing. Coach, my daughter has a lot of this. What did I say? Talent, potential. What else? Every now and then they said issues. And they were right? Attitude. My daughter's got a lot of attitude. But more than not, the number one thing they said is my daughter's got a lot of potential. How many of you have told your kids at some point in their life they got potential? How many of you have been frustrated because you could not get that potential out of your kids? And you're looking at your kids. I can't tell you, when people hear me speak, they come back there to my book table and they said, what book? I got a 25-year-old still living at home with me. What book can they read? Right? What book can my 25-year-old? Because I can't get them out of the house. I hear it every day. And so they would drop their daughters off and say, the number one thing they say is, my daughter's got a lot of potential. She just needs something.
Direction.
What does she need? Direction. Pushing, motivation, guidance, discipline, structure, accountability, a good kick in the hind end every now and then, right? They would say, my daughter but I can't give it to her, Coach. I've been giving it to her and it ain't working. She ain't listening to me. And I'd say, well, thank goodness you brought your daughter to us because we're going to give her all that. We're going to give her discipline and structure and guidance and a good kick in the rear when she needs it. And I'm going to hold her accountable. She's going to show up to everything ready to go. And you give me your daughter for 4 years and I'm going to turn her into the one of the most confident women you've ever met in your life. She'll be able to run for president of the United States when I'm done with her. Right? And year after year, I would coach those kids, and we would pump out those kids to where they could do anything in the world, and we called it the little greatness factory. We had our own greatness factory. We're manufacturing greatness. And you say, oh, you must have had good kids, Coach, come from great families. No. You know, I taught some of those kids how to drive in the parking lot with my own car because their parents wouldn't teach them. I had some players that had to ride in a taxi cab to school in the mornings because their parents wouldn't bring them. I had some kids didn't have a dollar to their name, a dime to their name. I had to pay for every meal they ever had in 4 years they played for me. I had some kids that had to find a place to live, a place to stay. They didn't come from good families. They didn't come from a background. They didn't come from wealth. They came, and here's what some of the elementary school teachers would tell me. You don't want that kid. That kid's going to end up in jail or pregnant or in trouble. And I would say, I want you to remember this conversation you and I had where you told me that kid was no good. Because I'm going to come back to you 4 years from now when I'm sending that kid to college. And I'm going to tell you that I took a kid you told me was no good, and I turned her into something. All because she needed a good coach in her life. That's the only thing she's missing. And I can't tell you how many kids we did that with for 10 years. Now, what's the correlation to you? Here's one thing I would ask the mamas and daddies. So you're telling me your daughter's got a lot of potential. Is that right? And they'd say, yes, sir. She got a lot of potential. And that's why we're bringing her to you, because we heard you're really good at getting that potential out of her. Here's what I'd say. I'm going to ask you a real hard question that you ain't going to like. And they'd say, oh, Coach, what is that question? And I'd say, is your daughter watching you reach your potential? And that's what they did. Whoa. Now, we didn't come down here for you to coach me. I said, I will run you around the parking lot like I do your daughter. Because here's the problem. Now, I can say this because I got a daughter. You know the number one way I can teach my daughter how to reach her potential? Show her how I'm reaching mine. So every night I sit down and talk to my daughter about her goals, about my goals, about her dreams, about my dream. She's 5 years old. Every night we sit down and we talk about things. And I said, look, I want you to watch your daddy go out there and push and strive and reach toward your dreams. She's going to see it in her own house every day. And I would ask those mom and daddies, are they watching you reach your potential? And they go, man, no. Coach, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not pushing toward my potential. Nobody's ever challenged me and pushed me like you are. And I said, well, at what point does potential stop? Does it stop because you're 40 years old? Does it stop because you're 80 years old? Does it stop? I coached a 71-year-old songwriter not long ago. And he called me out of the blue. He had won more songwriting awards than any person in ASCAP history, 71 years old. And he said, Coach, I still got one more good swing in me. Will you coach me? See, your potential is not stuck on an age. You didn't just have potential when you were a kid. And now because you're an adult, all of a sudden you don't have any anymore, right? So I would say to this, listen, your daughter first needs to see you reaching your potential. Don't talk at her. Don't tell her she has potential. Show her, help her, explain it to her. Potential is kinetic energy that is stored until utilized. We all have more potential, yes or no? Yes. I got a whole lot more. My wife don't know my potential. My own mama don't know my potential. My daughter don't know my potential. The only person who knows my potential is me. Just me. The only person who knows yours is you. So here's what I do know. I can't reach that potential if I'm in a static state. You follow me? Now, fast forward to 25 years old, and you say, how does this relate to me? 25 years old, I write this book, and it gets in the hands of people, okay? It gets in the hands of the state of Tennessee. It gets in the hands of all these people, and I've been getting phone calls, and it was so interesting what those phone calls said. Coach, will you come over and speak to our people at the state of Tennessee? Because we got a lot of good people, and they got a lot of potential. No, issues. Y'all got to pay attention. Come on, work with me. We got a lot of good people, and they got a lot of issues. And the potential issues they got too. And they would say this, will you come over and speak to our people? And I'd say, sure. If I can find time, because I'm trying to win championships, I'm coaching these kids, I love coaching these kids, I ain't interested at all in coaching adults. Because they cray-cray, you understand? I can coach a little 14-year-old kid, and this is fun, because they listen to what I tell them. I ain't interested in coming, right? And they're like, come on, Coach, please come speak to us. Please come talk to us. I'm like, okay. So I take my little book, my one little book that I had, and I went over there, and I'd speak to those adults, and they would come to me afterwards and say, man, our people loved it. Will you come back? And I'm like, not interested. Thanks for buying my book. I'm coaching kids. I love coaching kids. I'm going to win a bunch of championships. Then I'm going to go to college and win a bunch of championships. And that's my dream, okay? So I appreciate you letting me come spend some time with you, but I'm out. And I was speaking at Dell Computers. Dell Computers at this time, 15 years ago, was one of the biggest companies in the world in Nashville. And I'm speaking to the small business division. And I go in there and I speak, and I'm like, thank you all. Good to see you. I'm out of here. And the guy says, we really loved it. Will you come back and coach us again? I'm like, no, I'm not interested. And he kept pushing me. Come on, Coach. Man, our people loved it. They're motivated. They're motivated. You know what the word motivate means? To move. It means to move. It means to generate energy. You know what the word, the word, to me the word power is a means or source for supplying energy. You could change those words. Energy is a means or source for supplying power to people. What I do every day is supply power to people. I'm an energy source. You with me? And so here's the deal. If you worked on my team, you think you could bring low energy to work every day? No. I'm like, don't be bringing that bad energy in my place. Because Captain Positive don't take none of that. You understand? I don't want none of that. Don't even bring it in here. Go back and get your energy right before you come back and see me. And so here's the deal. So I'm out there supplying energy, and I'm like, man, I ain't coming back. I'm not interested. He said, are you sure? I'm like, yes. So we go back and forth for 10 minutes. Then he reaches in his pocket and pulls out a check. He said, well, here's your check for talking to our people. We loved it. We wish you'd come back. And I opened up that check, and it was more in an hour than I made in a whole month. Now, when I was coaching, I worked 80 hours a week every week. I used to work 8 hours a day on Sunday. I'd get up and go to church, go straight to my office. 80 hours a week, every single week. Devoted to that one thing. This man's giving me a check. I'm making more in an hour than I made in a whole month of 80 hours. And I look at him and I said, you paying me to come talk to you people? He said, yeah, man, that's, you're an author and our people, we're one of the biggest companies in the world. We're trying to get you to come back, but you're not listening to us. And I said, well, look, after looking at this check, I'll be back every 15 minutes. You need me to come back? I mean, I changed my mind. I'm ready to go. You need me to motivate the night crew? Whatever you need me to do, I'm in. Everybody follow me here? And I started to figure out all the things I've been learning in my life coaching I could apply to adults, and it would work with adults just like it worked with kids. And so I kept coaching, and at 31 years old, I retired from athletic coaching to start a coaching business, and all I do today is coach adults. Now, many of you work across Tennessee in different areas. I have spent a lot of time coaching people from the state of Tennessee. I spent 4 years in the prison system rehabilitating offenders or trying to rehabilitate offenders in the state of Tennessee. 98% of people that go to prison in Tennessee will get out. If they don't change or not rehabilitated or not transformed, they will turn around and do what? Go right back. There's no, and here's what I said when I looked at that model. Here's the problem. They don't have a coach. They don't have somebody coaching them. How can I change? Just left to my own devices, I'm always going to contract and retreat to my old ways. That's human nature, right? The reason we get complacent is because it's uncomfortable to get out of our complacent state. It's a lot more comfortable to go backward than it is to go forward. Insecure people always go backward to a place of complacency. Confident people always push forward to unknown. And I said, listen, these people, as soon as they get out of prison, they're going to turn around and go right back to what they've been doing until somebody comes into their life and changes their confidence, changes their knowledge, changes their skills, changes their desires, changes their confidence. Right? So I learned a lot by doing that. And you've never trained people until you've gone into maximum security prisons and trained. And you're a number, not a name. When to eat, when to go to the bathroom. They tell you everything. Now, you may say, hey, those people committed crimes against society. They did. So there's one or two things you believe. You believe in put them in jail and throwing away the key. That's incarceration. Or you believe in rehabilitation, which means we can take a person and change them. And if we can change them, can they become a contributing member of society? That's up to you to decide what you believe. But I made a decision, look, if they're going to get out, let's try to change them for the better. Let's try to work with them and rehabilitate them. So it's some of the most meaningful work that I do. I would go into the jail cells, and they would have my books up on. They use that book, This Ain't No Practice Life. They would have quotes from that book that they were reading. Never let my past hold my future hostage. Always live out of your imagination versus your memory. They would have these little sayings, Coach, when I get out of prison because of your book, I'm going to go do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. And it was tough work, but it was meaningful work. You with me? And it was distributing your talents. So today we're going to look at your potential in a number of ways, and we're going to try to help you really, really play at a much higher level here. And what I'm going to make an argument to you is this. I want to make an argument to you that I believe every single person needs a good coach in their life. Now, you may say, I've never had a coach. How many of you have ever had a good coach, by the way? At some point. There we go. At some point, you had a good coach. What about a good boss? Your boss sitting beside you, is that why you're saying that? Because here's what I love people saying, oh man, this was awesome today. This was awesome, but the person who needed to hear it is my boss. My boss ain't here. No, you needed to hear it. Your boss needs to hear it too. But I think of a good coach as a person who will do some things for you. I think a good coach is a person who will say 4 things to you. I believe in you. Outside of the words I love you, the 4 most powerful things I can say to you, I believe in you, man. Even when nobody else does, even when nobody else cares, even when everybody else is going to give up on you, I see something in you other people don't see. You know, when I say that to adults today, a lot of times they go, you do? You see something in me? Because nobody's ever seen anything in me. I do. So I look at people not for where they are, but for what they can become. I look at the potential in a person. And potential is this idea of embryonic growth. I'll be better today than I was yesterday. I'll be better tomorrow than I am today, that I'll never stop getting better. I want to get better. I want to grow. I want to continue to reach toward my potential, no matter how old I am. And so when you think about this, I very seldom hear a person say, my manager changed my life. I do hear a lot of people say, hey, I had a coach that changed my whole life. I had a leader in my life that changed my whole life. I had a leader that made me see something I didn't see in my own self. I had that one person in my life. Now, every now and then, I'll come across a person that says, I've never had that person. Never. I've never had a person in my life who did that. Here's what I would challenge that person. Have you put yourself in a position to get around and prosper around people who can help you play at a much higher level? We always hear we become the sum average of the 5 people we hang around most. I do believe your environment. Anytime I've been struggling in my life, guess who I sought out? When my confidence was low, I always sought out other people who had low confidence. Like gravitates toward like. Association breeds assimilation. So sometimes when I want to grow, I want to hang around people who are playing at a much higher level than me. Not hang around people playing at a lower level, but because we're creatures of habit, we always contract to the lowest common denominator. So for you, I want you to understand this. Every day in your current role is always an interview for your next role. I don't know what your next role is in life, but it's always an interview. People are watching. They're critiquing. And I'm in these meetings now because I'm coaching all these companies, and they'll say, look, we only got one spot. We got to move somebody up. Who do we need to move up to this one spot, this leadership position? And I never catch myself saying, let's take the one that creates the most drama, has the worst attitude, and let's move them on up. You know what I say? One of these people clearly stands out over all these other people. They show up every day with unbelievable attitude. They bring great energy. They're a problem solver versus a problem creator. They don't involve themselves in any drama. They're a huge asset to you. This ought to be obvious. This is the one you ought to move up. Right? I can't move them all up. I can only move one of them up. This is the one I got to move up. Every day in your current role is always an interview for your next role. People are watching. People are critiquing. People are evaluating. People are making a decision. How many of you believe that you can tell within the first 5 seconds of walking in an office or a business how long you want to stay? Never surprised me that people put the person with the worst attitude up front greeting all the people when they come in. I'm like, that's who you got up at the front desk working? I come in, they don't want to talk, they're on the phone, they're doing something else, they're not interested. You know, think about this, okay? So I want you to concentrate on 2 words. Transformation is where I come to you one way, I leave you another way. I may have come in with a bad mindset today, but because of you, my mindset changed. I may have came in with low energy today, but because of you, I walk out here with good energy. I may have came to you in a bad state of mind, but because of you, I left in a good state of mind. That's transformation. Transaction means I can discard you. I never need you again. I don't need you. There's nothing you bring to the table. Okay? Transaction is not a word. It's very transactional, which means I don't care about you, don't matter to me. I don't even know you, don't matter. Transformation means, man, I'm changing people's energy. I'm creating a better way for people, okay? Now, the reason we need a good coach in our life is right here. And I want you to think about right now. If you've reached a static state in your life, for whatever reason, you're bored, you're stuck, you're in a rut, you're complacent, you're not pushing, I want you to think about what a good coach would do. If I were coaching you right now, here's what I would do. Number 1, I'd make you have conversations you don't want to have. What would those conversations look like?
Better performance management.
Better performance management. You say it now. Are you HR director? Those are good words.
I'm a talent management.
Talent management. Here's what I say. You better get your butt together. Y'all are supposed to laugh at that. That's funny, okay? That's my HR, right? Hey, what's going on with you? Here's what I say to people all the time. You got all kinds of potential. But potential ain't going to get the job done. I'm looking for you to step into that potential. Now, here's the problem. I want it more than you do. I'm more interested in your potential than you are. See the problem with that? So I'm looking at you as a coach and I'm going, man, what's going on with you? I've been watching your performance. You're coming in, you're barely getting across the finish line. You're limping across the line every single day. Man, where's your energy? Where's your mojo? Where's your confidence? So a good coach will challenge you, right or wrong. And they won't wait 6 months to do it. See, this is the difference. When I got into the business world, the very first thing I noticed is I'm like, man, why are we waiting 6 months to tell somebody they're not performing? Why are we waiting for a performance review or an end-of-year evaluation? I mean, why do we let them suck for a year and then tell them at the end of the year they sucked? You understand what I'm saying? Because in the coaching world, what would I say? How fast do coaches tell people?
Real quick.
I'm like, look, this is going to change today. We ain't tolerating this. You're here, you want to get better, we're going to go play at another level. I'm not going to wait 6 months to tell you, I'm telling you right now. I see something in you. Now, I don't say it in a negative way, I say it in a motivational way. But that's the very first thing I started seeing is, man, we allow people on the bus, number one, that bring a very low energy, and they're bringing the bus down because of their energy. And good people want to do what? They want to be around other good people. People that are motivated want to be around motivated people. I don't want to come to work and work around people every day that bring very low energy to the equation. Bring me down. I want to be around better people than me. So here's what I started finding out. A players want to hang around other A players. People that are serious about their business want to get around other people serious about their business. And I don't want to be drugged down by the person beside me who's comparing and complaining and contending and criticizing and making excuses and talking about how miserable they are, how bad work is awful, and what they're going to do this weekend. Listen, I ain't got time for that. I want to be around somebody who's going somewhere, don't you? I want to be around somebody who's going somewhere in the world. And so a good coach will encourage us to do some things we don't want to do. So if you work with me, I'm going to come in one day and say, look, I know you've been doing this, but I'm going to give you a challenge. I think you can do this. You know what you're going to tell me?
I'll do it.
I like that. Debbie from Johnson City says, I'm in. Some people, here's the first thing they tell me. The first thing they tell me is, I don't think I can do it. You know why you don't think you can do it?
You don't believe in yourself.
Because you don't believe in you. I'm betting on you. You can do this, right? See, we've lost that. We've just let people kind of stagnate. Stuck. Just keep doing what you're doing. It's all okay. No. Hey, let's get better today. Let's be better today than we were yesterday. What about number 4? We can't see the picture when we're inside the frame. See, a good coach can be from the outside look in and go, hey, there's 3 things we need to do. Bam, bam, bam. We need to do these 3 things. We need to do them right now. You're so close to it and so emotional to it, you can't see it. Because you can't see it, you need another person in your life. You need an outsider to go, hey, there's 3 things you can be doing to play at a much higher level. And a good coach should find and feel our missing structures. Now, where's our missing structures? Knowledge, skill, desire, confidence. I want you to remember those 4 things because everybody needs work in one of those 4 areas. They need more knowledge. They need more skill. They need more desire, or they need more confidence. You can look at any person in the world and say, if I just helped you get more confidence, right? See, I thought confidence was for kids only. I thought confidence affected kids only until I started coaching adults. And then guess what I found out? A person without confidence will never try anything new. They will never put themselves in a position to be rejected. There is no such thing as rejection. So here's what I started saying. What if we taught people how to do these 4 things? I'm going to let you take a break in just a second. I only speak for 45 minutes at a time. The average attention span of a high school student, anybody know what it is? 14 minutes. You know the average attention span of an adult? Half of that, 7 minutes. You guys can't pay attention at all. You're shaking your legs, you're looking at your phones. If you could do one of these 4 things, you'll always be employable. You got kids? You do one of these 4 or 5 things, you'll always be employable. Always be employable. Always be employable. Always be valuable. Number 1, if you can come in and fix something that's broken, you're employable. I want you to think about you. What's your skill set today? Right? The reason we can go into the prison system is because the prison system is broken. We're spending double the amount on prisons than we are on education. It ain't working. And it ain't going to work until something changes it. It's broken. education system is broken. It ain't working. It's broken. That means that anywhere there's fear or something that's broken, guess what? There's always opportunity. Somebody comes along and says, I can fix this. You showed up at my office today and said, look, you got 4 big problems, Coach. I can fix all 4. You're employable to me. You understand what I'm saying? Coach, I can come in and sell 2 million of your books. You're employable to me. Coach, I can come in and solve the biggest problem you got. You're employable to me. So the first thing we got to teach people how to do is fix something that's broken. Second thing you got to do is solve some kind of problem. Money changes hands when problems are solved. You are being compensated to solve problems. Yes or no? Notice I didn't say you're being compensated to create problems. You're being compensated to solve a problem, and your talent solves their problem. Okay? Now, here's what's interesting. When I ask a company, give me the number one thing you want me to speak to your people about. What's the number one thing you want them to do when I leave? Guess what they tell me? It'll shock you. Motivation. I'm like, that's it? Yes, Coach, we just need you to come in and motivate them. Here's the problem. I can motivate you while I'm here. But what happens when I leave? What happens when I don't go to work with you every day? What happens when you go back to a complacent environment? What happens when you don't have an outside stimulus? You see, it shocks me that adults today need motivation. They need somebody else to motivate them. Here's one phrase I use a lot. No thing has to happen for me to take action. Nothing. Nobody's got to do anything for me. Nobody's got to give me anything. No thing has to happen for me to improve my life. Nothing. No thing. Everybody with me? I don't need my boss to be a better boss. I don't need my wife to be a better wife. I don't need my kid to be a better kid. I don't need my employees to be better employees. Because when I put my future in another person's hands, I am no longer in charge of my destiny. They are. When I put my confidence in another person's hands, I'm no longer in charge of it. They are. So here's one of my big sayings. Never allow another person to stand between you and your destiny. You got a destiny you're supposed to be manifesting. I don't know what it is because I don't know what your agreement with the universe is. But here's what I know. I'm not going to let you stand between me and my destiny. So I tell my wife, although I got employees, I don't rely on my employees to fulfill my destiny. That's my job. It's my destiny. Okay? So for you, when you say, well, if they just treat me a little bit better, if they give me a better break room, if they let me take a little bit longer lunch, if my boss will be a little bit nicer to me, you're taking all of you're disempowering your own self and empowering another person to control you. So if you say, well, I'm relying on somebody else to motivate me every day. My manager at the state of Tennessee ought to motivate me every day. If they were a better motivator, I'd be a better worker. Now I'm allowing my future to be controlled by my manager. My manager may not be any good. My manager may be lazy. My manager may be static. So why am I going to rely on another person for my future? Everybody follow me here? That's a big mistake people make. They rely on something else to happen in their life. It ain't happening. The train ain't coming. You understand what I'm saying to you? It ain't going. It's up to you to generate that. So when a person says, man, I just need some motivation. So I can make a living going around the world just motivating people. Because that's a problem in the world. Everybody see that? That's a problem. Money changes hands when problems are solved. Okay, number 3, sell something. You say, well, I'm not in sales. I don't sell anything. You sell yourself, don't you? You sell your ideas every day, don't you? You got a 5-year-old like I do. Don't think I ain't selling her something every day. Time to go to bed, time to get up, time to do this, time to take a bath. I'm selling her every single day on trying to take action. You are selling something. And the 4th one adds some type of differentiated value. Here's the concept. An asset adds. A liability subtracts. The minute I think you're a liability, what's the problem with that? The liability means you're taking something from this equation. What are you taking? My energy? What are you taking? My time? What are you taking? My future? You're sucking energy out of this machine. And I'm like, we got to get, the only thing that ever gets cut in a bad economy, liabilities. It's like we ain't got room for them. If you add to every equation, add energy, add knowledge, add skill, add desire, add confidence, when you add to something, you're always going to be valuable. Everybody with me here? It's when you start taking things from the equation that you have negated your own value. So if I talk to you for a minute, I talk to people all over the country and they come up and they unpack 10 years worth of emotional baggage on me. And after that conversation, I feel like I've been in a 10-round fight. And I'm like, man, you just sucked all my energy out of me because of what you just unpacked on me. Well, some people go to work and that's what they do every day. Well, let me tell you about what happened this weekend. Well, let me tell you what my ex-wife did. Let me tell you what my ex-husband did. Let me tell you what my kids did. Let me tell you what they did at the local government. Let me tell you what they did at work. Here's the deal. Past is finite. Don't matter. I tell people it don't matter to me. It's finite. It's fixed. Future, infinite. Let's leverage your past. Let's help you have a bigger future. I don't care what you tell me you've done. I don't care how bad it's been. You know what? I can't change it. I don't care. So let's not even live there anymore. Let's just move on to the future. Only thing I see in you right now is your future. That's it. You follow me here? That's it, is your future. That's the only thing I'm interested in. I'm not interested in all that stuff. So why spend valuable time? Now let me close on this. You can't have two thoughts simultaneously at the same time. You can't have a negative thought and a positive thought simultaneously. You cannot hold on to your past and grab a hold of your future at the same time. You with me here? You can't complain about something and be grateful for something at the same time. They cannot coexist with each other. So until you learn that, you spend a lot of time living back here. Don't matter. It's over. Shift your thoughts. And every time you have one of those thoughts, you shift it. You change it. Quickly. You attack it. So today, in this next session, we're going to get into some of your potential. We're going to get into how you can and what I'm really going to do is challenge you. And I want you to go back to your little town or Johnson City, Tennessee, or wherever you came from, and tell your significant other, and tell your husband, and tell your wife, man, I met this little pit bull coach, bald-headed, 5'6", and man, he got in my grill. Not long ago, I got a phone call from a wife that I had coached her husband. One of the oddest phone calls I've ever gotten. Here's what it said. She said, you don't know me, but you know my husband. Yes, ma'am. She said, I don't know what you've done with my husband, but boy, I like it. She said, my husband was 47 years old and stuck in one of the biggest ruts I have ever seen a man be stuck in. He wasn't engaged with us, his family, wasn't engaged with his work, wasn't engaged with nothing. I never seen him walk around depressed. She said, you got a hold of him, and it changed his whole deal. He's a better husband. He's a better father. He's a better worker. I don't know what switch you found in him, but you found it. And she said, I'm just calling to tell you with a big old sense of gratitude that if we didn't change something, we were headed in a bad direction with our marriage. And now I've never seen him more alive than I'm seeing him today. That's what a good coach can do for you. You with me? They can change your whole deal if you let them coach you. So I think the first session was pretty good, right? And if y'all didn't have fun, I did, right? So let's take a break. I'm only going to be here with you for 2 sessions today, and then I got to move on to the next place. We got to figure out how to get cell reception out of this place, and we're going to move on to the next place. I'll be with you for about 45 minutes. Let's take about a 10-minute break. We'll come back and keep going, okay? Thank you for being coachable. So here's what I do. I send out a weekly email every single Wednesday. It goes out. It's positive. It's upbeat. It's got my videos in there. It's got my podcast in there. If you want to get that, make sure there's a guy over in the left-hand corner. He's not over there right now. He's outside. But he will take, if you have a business card or if you'll write your email address, name and email address on something and give it to him, that will go in our database, and I personally write those. So nobody on my team writes it, I write it. So I have my podcast, my videos, and every Wednesday it comes out to you, okay? Now, some of you, as you look at, let's see if we can move this, there we go. Here's all the ways you can follow everything I'm doing. We sold out of books. I apologize about that. I've been on the road a lot lately, so they have to ship us more books. But if you want to buy a book on anything, a lot of people ask me for the kids. This Ain't No Practice Life is going to be the book I would tell you. The new book is called Everybody Needs a Coach in Life. It's a lot of what I'm talking about today. And that was an Amazon bestseller. So if you want to get that, we'll ship that to you. And I do sign those. So just go to CoachBurt.com and you can buy anything that you want to buy, okay? Books, audio, video, whatever. I'm on Twitter at Michael Burt. Notice my mother misspelled my name. I always ask her, I said, Mom, I know you was only 16. Did you not know how to spell? Because you spelled my name, M-I-C-H-E-A-L. She said, no, son, I want you to be different in the world. And my license plate on my car says a zebra. A zebra looks different than every other animal in the animal kingdom, okay? So I wrote a book called Zebras and Cheetahs as well about looking different and running faster. But you can follow me on Facebook. Just search Coach Michael Burt. LinkedIn. And a lot of you want videos. I have over 1,000 videos on YouTube. So we're filming this today. This will go to my YouTube channel. We have over 200,000 views on my YouTube channel. So if you want to get, like if you need a little pump up, you want to show your staff, you can go straight to my videos, get a little pump up session there. And then we do have online coaching programs and all kinds of coaching programs. My big one is called Monster Producer. If you're interested, that's online. You log in every day. You get coached by me, and that is in Monster Producer, and that's very cost effective. Sometimes we do that for a very low monthly fee, and that's my way of kind of taking my message to the world. So these are all ways that you can connect with me. Okay, I appreciate the stories. I appreciate you saying positive things on the break. I'm only going to be here just a few more minutes because I've got to get to another big event in Nashville, and they're telling me it's going to take us about 2 hours and 30 minutes to get there. And I'm like, where's the airplane at, right? Where's the plane at? Ain't no airplane coming. You understand what I'm saying? It's just us, okay? Give me some great takeaways from the first session. Give me something that you said, man, I can take that back and use it. You're in charge of your own life.
Pay attention to where your mindset is.
Pay attention to where your mindset is. Here's the deal. Here's how I say it. Remember the sayings. No thing has to happen for me to take action in my life. I hear this all the time as a coach. Well, like I said, my wife's got to do a better, she just did a better job of this. My husband did a better job of this. If my kids did a better, if my boss did a better job. Listen, here's what I would tell you. You're a big boy and a big girl. You don't need somebody else to do anything for you to get going. You don't need anybody around you to do anything for you to start taking action. I'm not letting anybody stand between me and my destiny. It's that simple. Okay? So for me, I try to create a work environment. We routinely have about 5 people a week that want to come work with me. I go out around the world and people walk up and say, man, I don't like my work. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. We had a Farm Bureau insurance agent outside of Knoxville, Tennessee, okay, that basically was number 360 out of 409 agents. That's where he was ranked at. Went to school to be a pastor, got into selling insurance, okay, and basically came to one of my trainings, walked up and said, I'm in. I coached him for 4 months. He moved from number 360 to number 1. And then he walked in and quit at Farm Bureau. And they said, what are you quitting, man? You're number 1 in the company. I mean, they said, yeah, I'm going to work with Coach Burt. I didn't offer him a job. He showed up one day at my office and said, man, I'm working for you. I don't care if you like it or not. And I'm like, all right, man, I give you conviction. So he's traveling back and forth from East Tennessee. He's got 5 kids. He's got a wife at home, and he's in there every day getting better. And I said, man, there ain't no way we can't help you play to the next level. So we routinely get about 5 people a week that want to come work with me. But here's the deal. All I'm doing is creating an environment where people can thrive in. Everybody with me? All I'm doing is trying to create a positive, upbeat environment that is attractive to other people. So I want you to remember the concept of this dynamic state. Let's see if I can find it in here. Yeah, there's those 3 states I'm talking about. Okay, and if I can keep it in a dynamic state, dynamic is attractive. When I say attractive, I mean I'm pulling people toward us. So I think all I'm doing is going out into the world and exchanging energy. And I'm exchanging energy, and people that want more energy, right, are coming in. Going, hey, give me some more, man, give me some more. So a lot of government entities get a real bad rap for not creating energy, right? They get a rap of, hey, people are lazy or they don't work hard. Listen, that's not true in every case. It is true in some cases, would you agree? But it ain't true in every case. It can be dynamic. It's just an organization. And an organization is just a relationship with the purpose. So what I'm trying to avoid is that middle state, static. I just can't allow myself to get in a static state. Okay? And that's on me. That's not on anybody else. Okay? Now, here's some things you're going to fight as you go forward. Now, look at this. How many classes in school did you have in any of these things? How many classes did you have in school in finding your talents? So I ask adults, what's your real talent? And here's what they say. Well, I'm a good person. I hate to tell, I know in today's world that seems like a talent, but it's not. I'm like, what is your, let me break it down. Like a talent is, I take something complicated and I make it simple. A talent is, I solve very complicated problems. A talent is, I take things and I see them through to their conclusion. A talent is, I can connect to anybody, anywhere, anytime. A talent is, I have a very special skill set. Now, where does that skill set come from? Comes from your past. The one place all the good stuff is. Now, I told you don't live in the past, but the past is actually what makes you where you are today. You see, the reason I'm able to coach you today because I started coaching people as early as 5 or 6 years old, and that's all I've done my entire life. And when you do anything for 30 years, do you become good at it? Yes or no? Yes. So if you could help your kids find their talent early and distribute their talent through their work, are you doing them a big favor? Yes or no? Yes. See, what happens is, so I went to school for 9 years. And I went to college for 9 years. I know what you're thinking, man, he was real slow, right? I went to college for 9 years to get 3 degrees. So I had over almost 400 hours of college credit. Not one class in 400 hours of college credit that I am still paying off today. And number one, how to find my talent. Would that be something that would have been valuable, yes or no? So here's the deal. I went to college. I did exactly what they told me to. I went to college for a long time. I got multiple degrees, and I still didn't find the one thing I really need to figure out was what am I supposed to be doing? The number one selling book several years ago was selling 1 million copies a month, and that was The Purpose-Driven Life. 1 million, outside of the Bible, the all-time biggest seller ever is Purpose-Driven Life. And you know why? So many people trying to figure out, what am I supposed to be doing? Like, what is my purpose here? What am I? Well, I've come to the conclusion that if my purpose is impacting people, and my purpose is impacting people, how can I do that? Through my work. So at the end of a person's life, when another person is eulogizing that person, they typically know them from what? Their work. They know them from their life. They know, like if you're going to spend 30 to 40 years doing something, it's important that you figure out, hey, I'm pretty good at this. This is why I go to work every week for 10 hours a day or 8 hours a day or whatever the case may be. So there's no classes in this. There's no classes in how to package and sell what it is, what you have to the world. Here's a big one. There's no classes in how to bounce back when you get knocked down. We need classes in this because there's going to be a departure from the ideal scene. There's no class in how to articulate, how to be an asset, the discipline it'll take. There's no classes in how to get my mojo back once I lose it. There's no classes in any of this stuff. And this is all stuff we fight every single day. So what we're doing is we're ill-equipping people to be successful. So there's no surprise to me, adults wake up and they're static and they're bored and they're on the wrong bus, doing the wrong thing, and they're not using their talents like they should. And now I've got an adversarial relationship with my work. And because I don't like my work, I'm not good at it. Because I'm not good at it, I bring low motivation. Because I bring low motivation, make everybody around me miserable. Because of the attitude and mindset I bring to the equation every day. Well, it's because you never really dug in. So the stats are telling me the average 20 to 30-year-old is going to change jobs 24 to 37 times in their lifetime. Now that's very different than I get a job and I work there for 30 years. Right? What they do is they get on a bus, don't like it, don't like the boss, don't like the work, change jobs. Get on the next bus, don't like the work, don't like the boss, change jobs. Right? They keep going. Well, that's what's happening in today's world. So they come to me and they say, well, why is this happening? You know why? They haven't found their talent, hadn't found their skill set. Because if I find my talent first and then go find my work. Okay, so here's an example. When I was a high school basketball coach, we had a life after basketball program where we linked up our players with successful people in the community, and we let them interview them. So I'd say, now what do you want to be when you grow up? You're 15 years old. What do you want to be? I want to be a nurse. Great. What kind of nurse? I want to be an emergency room nurse. Perfect. I'm going to put you in a room with an emergency room nurse, and I'm going to let you ask her 10 questions, and we're going to help you come up with those questions. And you're going to ask her, what's the worst day of your job look like? And she's going to tell you. Did you know that after one conversation with those people, almost 80% of our players change their mind about what they want to do for a living? Just one. They get out of that conversation, they go, I thought I wanted to be a nurse, but I don't want to be a nurse anymore. Right? They didn't know. So one conversation could talk them out of doing that. Just one. Because they actually got exposed to that one thing. So for you, this creates all of our problems in the world, because I'm working beside a person that every time they get their feelings hurt, they lay down for a week, they pout, they whine, they make excuses, they blame, they live in the past, because nobody ever taught them how to get back up when they get knocked down. That's a problem. Okay? So where are they going to learn that? They're not going to learn it. They're not going to learn it until something changes. Okay? So what I want to show you is, I just want to show you a few things here. This is how I see your work. This is the best description, this is the best picture that I can show you. You've got your talent. Oh, there's an actual stage up here. You got your talent right here. Now, if you don't know your talent, that's a problem. Because when you find what it is you're supposed to be doing, guess what comes along with it? See, now I got energy. I come with batteries included. I don't need you to motivate me. I don't need you to get me out of bed in the morning. I don't need you to psych me up. I don't need you to manage me. All I need you to do is give me some coaching and guidance and direction and let me go. Because I already found what I'm supposed to be doing. So this is my talent. Now, so what's the first problem? Most people have not found this. So I walk around and I say, hey, tell me what it is you're really talented at. And you should hear the things I hear people say. Man, I'm a good person. I show up on time. I get to work early. I'm a hard worker. These are not talents. Okay? I know, like I said, I know it seems like a talent, but it's really not a talent. I want you to think about talent is unique to you. Okay? Remember in the old days when we go down to buy a car and the car did not come factory installed with everything? You had to add it on. Like it didn't have power windows. That was add-on. Didn't have radio. That was an add-on. Well, now the cars are factory installed with all these things, right? By the manufacturer. Manufacturer factory installs it. Well, you have been factory installed with certain talents, but the problem is you don't know what they are. And because you don't know them, what do? At some point I need to make some money, so I go do what? See, we don't tell an 18-year-old, go find your talents. What we tell them is what? Go get a job. Does it matter if that job is married to your talent? Nope. Just go get a job. Well, that person gets into this job only to find out when they're 30 years old, 35 years old, guess what? This ain't what I'm supposed to be doing. Now, here's an interesting thing. The nurse that delivered our daughter was unbelievable. We were there all day to deliver our daughter. I say we as if I was actively involved in this. Toward the end of my wife having our daughter, the nurse said, we just need you to, one more, come on, just right? And the old coach in me came out. And I would not recommend this to anybody. And you know what I said? Suck it up and push one more time. And that nurse was like, what did you just say? I was like, I'm sorry, I'm a coach. But my wife would tell you that's the one thing she needed. She said, I didn't like that you said it, but I needed to hear it. But at the end of a shift, now this goes to show you a person. The end of the shift, we still hadn't delivered our daughter. Ella Grace is her name. And all the nurses came in, and it was the end of their shift. So nurse 1 came in. This is the end of our shift. Thank you. Good luck. I'm going home. Next nurse, end of my shift. Good to meet you. Very transactional. I'm going home. That nurse came in, and here's what she said. She said, my shift is over. And I do have a family at home. But she said, I started this with you this morning, and I'm going to finish it with you. And she said, I'm going to deliver this baby for you. Now, I want you to think about what that woman did. She stayed after her shift. Do you think I'll ever forget that? And her talent was so strong. And you know what her real talent was? Calming people down in very emotional situations. That was her real talent. She was so good at making us just laugh and smile and take something very stressful and just turn it down a few notches. And not long ago, that nurse who did that Facebooked me on Facebook out of the blue and said, I would like to come work with you. And I brought her over to my office one day and I said, this is crazy. You are probably the best nurse, the most compassionate. I mean, you are unbelievable. Like, you ought to be like nurse of the planet. And you know what she said to me? That ain't what I'm supposed to be doing. I said, well, how did you go into nursing? She said, when I was in college at Maryville College, I was a sophomore in college, and they came to me and said, it's time for you to choose what you're going to do with the rest of your life. And I didn't know anything else to do, so I chose nursing. And she said, I am a good nurse, but I feel like that is not what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. I'm supposed to be doing something else, and I would like to come work with you. Okay? And so my point here is, at 35, 36, 37, at some point in your life, you start figuring out, what am I really supposed to be doing here, right? This is serious. This ain't no practice life. This is, I only get one chance at this. And so what I think we have to do is we got to dig in and ask some hard questions. So people ask me, like, how do I find my passion? How am I supposed to find this? Okay, here's the questions I would ask you. Number one, what do you love doing that gives you energy? What gives you energy versus drains your energy? What could you talk about all day? I mean, if I just said, let's just sit around and talk about something, it's like all you want to talk about. Like my wife is interior design. She thinks she's Joanna Gaines. You know what I'm saying? I mean, she's like, she wants to design things and create things. My wife was stuck in a job she hated at Verizon, selling cell phones. And she came to one of my workshops on that book, This Ain't No Practice Life. And I tell people she fell in love with her potential. And I fell in love with her. And we ended up married. Now I want you to think about that. She took that one book and dug in, and she said, man, I know I'm supposed to be doing this and this and this. And that book was a catalyst for her. So now she designs all of my greatness factories. She designs all of our rental properties around the country. She's involved in designing. She loves hosting. And now she's found her calling and her talent, right? And she's doing what she's supposed to be doing. So now she's happier. She's more passionate, right? And after all, I mean, for $35, she got me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, what more could she want? So my point is, when you think about this, talent, passion. Now, here's the key. When I'm distributing this to the world, I don't care what it is I do for a living. When I'm distributing this, look at what happens when I distribute it at high levels. Everybody see that? I'm contributing in big ways to the world. But here's what the world is saying. Man, you're really, really good at distributing this. So what's my reward? Love, money, recognition, referrals, repute, affirmation, thank yous, we appreciate yous. You understand what I'm saying? Guy walked up to me after one workshop and he said, I don't have $1 to my name. And if I did, I'd buy every book you got. But he said, I just want to tell you that I'm interested in you. What you said today impacted me in a big way. I don't have any money to give you. And I was like, look, I don't need any money. You paid me. That's contribution to me. Everybody with me? So if you have an adversarial position with your work, this ain't how it works, is it? If you look at your work as something that you dread, something you don't enjoy, something you have to suffer. This is how we were taught early in life. Suffer through work, live for the weekends, get all of our joy and satisfaction off the job. And I just made up my mind, that's not how I'm looking at my work. My work is too important to me to do that. My work gives me the opportunity to be here with you today. That's what my work, so I got to change the picture. Does that mean I love every single facet of what I do? No, it does not. I don't like being on airplanes. I don't like being away from my family. I don't like, there's a lot of things I don't like that I have to do, okay? I don't even really like writing books, okay? But it's a labor of love. It's a way for me to communicate long after I'm gone. You follow me? So I'm not sitting there telling you every day you're going to go to work. It's going to be awesome. And you're going to get to spend 100% of your time doing 100% of what you love. What I'm saying is, when you begin distributing your talents at a very high level and you really get this, then the world's going to go, hey, you're good. And because of that, people are going to notice. And they're going to say positive things to you. And that's what it's really, really about. Everybody follow me here? So let me close on this. When you think about it, these are the 4 parts of your nature. And when I learned this, my life and my leadership went to a whole new level. When I started seeing people as whole people, and I started understanding that they have 4 needs. The body's need is to live. The mind's need is to learn. The heart's need is to love and be loved. And the spirit's need is to connect to higher power, to matter, to contribute. When I get fed in all 4 parts of my nature, I'm living a whole life. Because if not, I'm just showing up in the body. I'm there physically, but I'm not there. When I'm showing up in my whole self, that means I'm here, I'm engaged, I'm on fire, and man, I'm clicking on every cylinder that I've got. And when I learn this model, body, mind, heart, spirit, everything I do is coaching a whole person. So I'm looking at you going, where do you need coaching? Is it knowledge for the mind? Is it skill for the body? Is it desire for the heart? Or is it confidence for the spirit? And once I know where you need coaching, I begin to feed you in that area. Content cows give more milk. You know that, right? So you got to feed the sheep. You got to feed the sheep. And I feed people in those 4 areas. Okay? And that's really what today has been about. It's about motivation. It's about getting your swag back. Some of y'all, Stella, need to get her swag back. You know what I'm talking about? Some of y'all, you lost your confidence. You've lost your way. And it's about time to reconnect with what it is you're supposed to be doing here. Why are you doing this for 30 years of your life? What are you doing every day? How are you contributing in a bigger way? That's what today is about, okay? I do believe everybody needs a good coach in life. I do believe that today you've given me the best, the most precious commodity you can give me, which is your time and your energy and your heart. And like I said, if you want to get that email, make sure my guy over there, he's over there, Eric White, get your email address. Okay, if you want to get on anything else or connect with me, just email us and I'll be happy to talk to you. And if there's ever any way I can help you in the future, let's not let today be the only day in our life that our paths cross. Fair enough? God bless you guys. Have a great day. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Ah, sweet. Y'all are so sweet. Thank you. And I forgot to tell, for those people that were looking for 1 or 2 more books, I do have 1 or 2 more to sell right here, okay? I had them up front. Who wants those? You got those? Okay, we'll give you right there, okay? Thank you. Thank you, guys.